Welcome to Cinema Chop Shop. Watch, chop, retrofit.
All right, guys, so hear me out. The mascot for the Democratic Party is the donkey. And what, I ask you, is the most popular shape of piñata?
The donkey.
The donkey. Coincidence? Spanish for donkey is burro, like burrow under the border. It's like a real Trojan donkey situation.
I really thought you were
you're
going
onto
for
something.
a donkey show joke there.
Damn.
That's where I thought
Missed
you were going.
opportunity.
But this is not a tinfoil hat podcast. This is Cinema Chop Shop. Welcome to the
Also
show.
not a fringe porn podcast.
Welcome to the show. I'm your host, Shawn, and I'm joined by Joey Poole. And
Hello, you caught me mid-sip.
mid sip, and then Travis Cito.
I'm here as well.
Todd is not here. He is spending his time preparing to worship the Lord on this Easter weekend.
Rabbits don't lay eggs.
They don't. There's a song about that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. Once again, we've been hit by the rest in peace bug.
Mm-hmm.
We lost Val Kilmer a few weeks ago, about a week or so ago.
Not Patrick Swayze.
Not Patrick Swayze. Travis has a confusion problem with them.
Mm-hmm.
But we lost Val Kilmer. He had a long battle with throat cancer.
Yeah.
And I guess it finally did him in. If you haven't seen the Val Kilmer documentary, Val, done by his son, give that a watch.
Wait, so I know it was narrated by his son. Did his son like produce or direct it?
Yeah,
as well?
He.
Oh, wow.
A lot of it was home footage that he shot himself. And
That's
stuff,
cool.
So. All right, so if you've never done one of these with us, this is a Sweet 16 bracket where we've taken a selection of Val Kilmer's films, and to keep things fair and unbiased, we've ranked them according to the Rotten Tomato scores of each of the films.
The scientific gold standard for whether or not a movie is good.
All right, so without further ado, we're going to jump in because these can take a little while to go through each of these films. Our top seed in the bracket was a surprise to me. Rotten Tomatoes score of 93%.
Yes.
We've talked about it on the show before on the Gary Oldman episode.
Yeah.
It's True Romance from 1993, written by Quentin Tarantino, directed by Tony Scott, starring Christian Slater, Patricia Arquette, Gary Oldman, Dennis Hopper, Brad Pitt, Christopher Walken, James Gandolfini, Michael Rappaport, and, of course, the man of the hour in a very small but important role, Val Kilmer. A comic book nerd, an Elvis fanatic, Clarence, and a prostitute named Alabama fall in love. Clarence breaks the news to her pimp and ends up killing him. He grabs a suitcase of cocaine on his way out, thinking it is Alabama's clothing. The two hit the road for California, hoping to sell the cocaine, but the mob is soon after them.
So am I in the minority loving this movie? I'm a True Romance fanboy over here.
I went back and listened to our podcast, and
You just went back and listened to the score?
Yeah.
Is it Hans Zimmer score?
Yeah, the Hans Zimmer score bothered me. Tony Scott's directing bothered me. I think a lot of Quentin Tarantino's finer writing notes fell flat.
And
Because
Joey,
Tony
your
Scott-
quibbles
but-
were from a writing standpoint,
Yes.
though,
Well,
right?
I wanted to touch on the score was weird.
Yeah.
Because there would be these kind of tense moments, but the soundtrack is this like
Bells.
it's the zither or a vibraphone playing kind
Yeah.
of, and it just was really kind of off-putting to me. I don't hate this movie. And people love this movie. Was aware of it, but I'd never seen it before, and I knew it kind of had a culty following. But people love this movie. Honestly, I kind of found it annoying. I just thought that the script was more concerned with being hip than anything else, and it just for me hit every beat that I thought it was going to hit.
I
It
think
just
that
didn't
you
really
could
do
say
it
that
for me.
about Quentin Tarantino in general, more concerned with being hip than anything else.
But y'all, Gary Oldman's character, though,
Amazing.
off the rails, totally insane, and
It shouldn't
still
have worked.
Still outrageous to this day, playing a white guy who wants to be black.
And almost like Jamaican black.
Yeah, and
right?
it's in the dialogue too that's the case. Travis, you have a fun fact for each of our
do.
entries. I want to see if yours matches mine. Go ahead.
Okay, so in a 2011 interview with American Film Institute, Gary Oldman was asked to name his favorite movie. He chose two. The first was Lee Harvey Oswald in JFK, and then Drexel Spivey in this movie. And then, according to Dennis Hopper, the only words that were improvised in the scene with Christopher Walken were, quote, eggplant and, quote, cantaloupe.
The other fun fact about this script and Natural Born Killers, also written by Tarantino, were at one point the same story.
Right.
And he was advised by a very smart person, I can't recall who it was, said, you really ought to take that part of it out of the movie because it's not a 3-hour movie. And it ended up being two separate scripts.
It's one of those very few movies that are kind of a Tarantino movie because he produced and wrote on them, but didn't direct them. There's this Killing Zoe as well with Eric Stoltz and the girl from Before, During, After Midnight, that series, that Linkletter series.
Yeah.
What's her name?
Drawing a blank.
So the Killing Zoe is also one that he wrote but didn't direct.
And of course, we should mention Val Kilmer's role in this. He is Elvis.
He's an apparition
but
of Elvis.
He is also referred to in subtitles as Mentor.
This is the second time that Val Kilmer would play Elvis.
Yes. So he is the Jiminy Cricket, so to speak, for Christian Slater's character, egging him on and giving him the thumbs up on everything he's doing.
I was just gonna say, I know I dissed it a little bit earlier, and I was kind of underwhelmed and annoyed. But like, there are two fight scenes in this movie that are among the best in any genre, and it's the first one between Gary Oldman and Christian Slater.
Yep.
And then the second one between James Gandolfini and is it Patricia Arquette?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Both of those fight scenes are worth the price of admission. Again, I don't hate this movie. Those two things are great. And Gary Oldman's character is just right on a hair's width away from being way over the top.
Right.
But it's not. And it's like, it's unhinged.
It's amazing.
All right, so that's going to go up against the bottom of the bracket, and that's Red Planet from the year 2000.
I just rewatched this the other night.
14% on Rotten Tomatoes, directed by Anthony Hoffman, starring Val Kilmer, Carrie Ann Moss, Tom Sizemore, one of the many times we'll see Tom Sizemore.
There's a bunch of names that keep popping up over and over in tonight's selections.
Benjamin Bratt, Terrence Stamp, and a couple of others. Astronauts and their robotic dog, Amy, autonomous mapping evaluation and evasion, search for solutions to save a dying Earth by searching on Mars, only to have the mission go terribly awry.
Yes.
Allie makes fun of us because we use the word boilerplate a lot. She started developing a drinking game for the podcast. And
I think that's Todd brought that
I
in.
use that word too, and this is the very definition of a boilerplate sci-fi movie. It's as if somebody set out to make Alien without the suspense, without the terror, and without the they
have the crabs.
They had the little crabs, but you also had the dog that eventually becomes like the predator.
Space crabs.
Space crabs. Yeah. This movie is completely devoid of inspiration,
no character depth,
of nuance. There's no character development.
There's huge things they leave out too. Like, for example, Val Kilmer's character, the engineer. They say in the opening description, I guess it's Carrie Ann Moss narrating the beginning, that he was a last-minute addition to the team. And they never touch that again.
Yeah.
They never say why, what happened to the person who was there before him.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And Carrie Ann Moss spends the entire time sitting on the ship, monitoring.
Yeah, well, she's supposed to turn around and come back because they've considered the rest of the crew end of mission, but she's still trying to figure out a way to, at the very least, contact them and then possibly save them.
All right. So, anything else about Red Planet?
Yeah,
you might want
I've got my.
in?
Well,
fun
I was
facts.
just going to say, there's not much really to say about this movie. It's perfectly competent. It's perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And it ends up being ultimately perfectly boring.
The
I think.
CG is a little dated.
It's better than Armageddon.
Okay.
I'll give it that.
I don't know.
It's just
That's a pretty low bar for me. I should say.
Armageddon's at least got some like sentimentality and sappiness to it.
my issue with the movie is that it's just so uninspired. It's just like it has no life whatsoever, and somebody could have tweaked the script, and a good director could have amped up some of the excitement. But God, it's just a bore. You're right.
Well, this movie, the director, this is his only feature film that he was ever allowed to make. Also, Val Kilmer and Tom Sizemore began feuding during production, even though they had been friends prior. And I get the impression a lot of people feuded with Val Kilmer on set because he was a little bit known to be a little bit difficult to work with. According to reports, it all began when Kilmer got annoyed about a fancy exercise machine that Sizemore wanted shipped from England to the set in Australia. Eventually, they hated each other so much, Kilmer would not come out of his trailer if Sizemore was on set, and eventually their enmity only grew until they engaged in a physical altercation in which Sizemore gained the upper hand. After filming, Sizemore filed a restraining order against Kilmer.
Dude, if Tom Sizemore files a restraining order against you...
There's another part that I was wondering about, and I'm glad that it came up. In her report back to Earth, Carrie-Anne Moss's character Bowman refers to the state of the HAB, the HAB, as being Tango Uniform, and so that's TU. I was like, what the hell is TU? Any guesses?
No.
It's tits up.
Tits up.
Tits
Nice.
up, meaning dead or destroyed.
All right. Without further ado, are anybody voting for Red Planet?
True Romance takes this one.
Yes,
easily.
for sure.
All right, we're going to jump right into the 9 and 8. These are the middle of the brackets. We're dealing with the number 9 seed, 56% Rotten Tomatoes. It's The Doors from 1991, directed by Oliver Stone, starring Val Kilmer, Meg Ryan, who also appears later in this bracket, Kevin Dillon, Kyle MacLachlan, Frank Whaley, and Kathleen Quinlan. After a psychedelic experience in the California desert, Jim Morrison, lead singer of The Doors, and his bandmates began performing in Los Angeles and quickly become a sensation. However, when Jim begins ditching the music responsibilities and his girlfriend Pamela in favor of his dangerous addictions and the affections of the seductive, occult-obsessed Patricia, the band starts to worry about their leader.
We've talked about this movie at length somehow. And I used to be a big fan of it. I can acknowledge that it has its problems upon more recent viewings. Also, if you listen to any of the surviving members of the band, they say there's a whole bunch of artistic license that Oliver Stone took. There's things that completely did not happen the way that he portrayed them. The only thing that they all agree on is that Val Kilmer's performance was incredible, and especially his vocal performances, which he did all of the singing. Go ahead.
I was gonna say this is by far not my favorite movie on this. It's not his best movie, but this is probably arguably his best role.
I think it's his best role and best casting of
Certainly
It's
his
top
most
two.
iconic role, I think.
Well, we're going to get to one that could be argued as well.
But yeah, this he is the best part of this movie, in my opinion. I think that he is a shoe-in to play Jim Morrison. He did a great job. Yes, the movie has all kinds of warts and flaws that we can go on and on about. Moving right along, number 8, a 59%er from 1986. We're talking about Top Gun, also directed by Tony Scott. Stars Tom Cruise, Val Kilmer, Kelly McGillis, Anthony Edwards, Meg Ryan, Tom Skerritt, James Tolkien, Michael Ironside, and Tim Robbins. A pilot's homoerotic journey through the Navy's Top Gun Naval Fighter Weapons School during the Cold War. Anything else you want to add to that?
They're going to make a third one after the success of Top Gun Maverick, and so fuck this movie.
This matchup is hard for me because it's genre against genre. It's two of my least favorite genres of films. I'm not a huge fan of the biopic. I think they're normally overblown and unnecessary. That don't really interest me that much. I also really hate the American military industrial complex propaganda film, and that is exactly what Top Gun is. Not quite as egregious in the Cold War politics as some of the stuff, but very much of that ilk. And it has Tom Cruise in it, and I won't go back into my feelings about Tom Cruise, which I made very plain last week. But for that reason, this is a really tough matchup for me.
Before we vote, can I do
please.
the fun facts?
Please.
So going back to The Doors, Val Kilmer broke his arm badly when he performed a jump from the stage into the crowd. The stuntman failed to catch him, leaving Kilmer with an abnormal growth on his right elbow. a growth that is clearly visible in the movie Heat in 1995. And then for Top Gun, Val Kilmer didn't want to do the movie, but was forced to do it by contractual obligations. And Tony, this part, I don't know about. It seems like bullshit. Tony Scott reassured him, saying, quote, "I know the script is insufficient, but we'll get better, Val. Wait till you see these jets. They'll take your breath away."
Oh, God.
Take my breath away.
This movie. Jeez. The volleyball scene with Tom Cruise and Kenny Loggins playing with the boys.
Yeah.
Playing
Very homoerotic.
with the boys.
And the scene, you've lost that loving feeling scene in the cafeteria that like
It's
every
a bar. They're in the
girl
bar.
in middle school was like,
Yeah.
yeah, fuck this movie.
Insanely popular at
Yeah.
the time.
Oh,
if you thought the popularity of the sequel was nuts, just imagine 10 times.
Yeah.
I was like around 8th, 9th grade when this came out. I thought Val Kilmer was really cool.
Uh-huh.
I was very much into
Iceman.
Yeah, I was very much into the bad guy. You know,
See, I always identified it with Goose.
the dead one. All right, let's vote real quick. What do you think?
I'm going with The Doors.
Me too.
Yeah, me too. All right, next up, number 5, 77% Rotten Tomatoes from 1985. Real Genius, directed by Martha Coolidge, starring Val Kilmer, Gabriel Jarrett, Michelle Miernick, John Grice, William Atherton, and Robert Prescott. When science whiz Mitch Taylor arrives at Pacific Tech as a freshman, he's paired up with genius senior Chris Knight to work on a laser project. Mitch initially doesn't care for Knight's slacker attitude, but is eventually won over, and their friendship allows them to make new progress on the laser project. It's only when the boys learn that the government intends to use the laser as a weapon that they start to question what they're actually have been working on.
I like this movie. I love the crazy genius mad scientist kind of bonkers aspect of it. The scene with the dry ice is iconic, you know.
The
What else?
popcorn too.
Popcorn, yeah,
Popcorn,
that's
yeah.
what I was gonna say.
I love this movie. I watched it in 8th grade, and it was the first movie after all of the Revenge of the Nerds movies where smart people were celebrated. It's the first movie that I can point to with an autistic person treated normally in the film. Jordan, the girl, clearly autistic, doesn't sleep, completely has the motor running at all hours. I appreciate the film for stepping outside the lines of making nerd culture useful, cool, and productive. And so for that reason, I was drawn to the film. And it is funny. It's cleverly written. John Grice as Laszlo, the guy lurking in the basement or whatever. What a lot of fun.
So speaking of that character, this is my fun fact. When he sends a large number of entries to the Frito-Lay contest, this is mirroring the actions of Caltech students Steve Klein and Dave Novikov and Barry Megdal, who in 1974 used a similar strategy to win a McDonald's sweepstakes. Their entries came to roughly 1/5 the total entries and won the station wagon, $3,000, and $1,500 in food gift certificates. There's a nod to this in the fact that Laszlo is frequently seen carrying food in a McDonald's bag in his early scenes.
All right, it's going up against a 47% film from 2010. We're talking about MacGruber.
Yes.
This is the adaptation of the Saturday Night Live sketch. Directed by Joma Tacone.
Jorma.
Jorma?
Yeah.
Okay, I just misspelled it. Starring Will Forte, Kristen Wiig, Ryan Phillippe, Timothy Murphy, Val Kilmer, Maya Rudolph, Billy Zane, and Sam Elliott. Sam was just the voiceover, right? I think he was the narrator.
And Powers Booth.
And Powers Booth was in this, yes.
And he shows up again tonight as well.
After his wife was murdered, decorated soldier of fortune MacGruber turned his back on a life of violence. But when her killer arms dealer Dieter von Kuntz
Yes.
steals a nuclear warhead, the all-American hero leaps back into action. MacGruber assembles a crack team, including young police lieutenant Dixon Piper and old friend Vicky St. Elmo, and with their help, battles to stop his arch nemesis destroying Washington, D.C.
So the character that Kilmer is doing in this is very much akin to all of the different disguises that he does in The Saint.
Yeah.
Except in this, they're being cheesy on purpose.
Yes, we'll get to that one in a minute. I laughed at this movie more than I want to admit. And also, as innovations go, the whole assembling of the team at the beginning only to blow them up, made up of all these WWE wrestlers, was used in Deadpool.
Yes.
The exact...
Or Deadpool 2, maybe?
Deadpool 2. Yeah, the exact gag. And there are some other things that were done in this movie that I was pointing at going, wait a minute, that was also in this movie that came later. So... mock it, make fun of it as being just a cash tool for SNL films, fine. But there are actually some things in here that people have latched onto and grabbed and used for their own.
Its only crime is that it came out in 2010, and now all these people are like mainstays of comedy.
Yeah, it's stupid, it's dumb, and I still wish that that Val Kilmer hadn't cut off his penis. I wanted McGruber to shove it in his mouth like he said he was going to, but oh well.
Speaking of Val Kilmer and Will Forte, they almost ended up on the CBS hit series The Amazing Race together in 2001 because of this film. When they became good friends, Kilmer later stayed in Forte's house for a few months while searching for a new LA-based home for himself. And Forte, who's a huge fan of The Amazing Race, introduced Kilmer to the show. They were about to apply as a team when their other work commitments led to the idea being dropped. I also read somewhere that their publicists / management were like, no.
All right, so let's make a pick.
Between...
Real Genius and McGruber.
Real Genius.
McGruber does
It has
what
its
they
charm.
ask it to do. It's a one-note MacGyver parody, and as such, it's actually pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a no-brainer.
Real Genius has a much more to going for it. All right, next up, this one should be fun. Number 13 seed, 41%er from 1995. It's Batman Forever.
Yes.
Directed by Joel Schumacher, his first outing with the franchise, starring Val Kilmer in his only outing as the hero.
Right.
Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Nicole Kidman, Chris O'Donnell, Michael Guff, who will appear later on in the show, Pat Hingle, Drew Barrymore, and Debbie Mazar. Mm-hmm. Batman faces off against two foes, the schizophrenic, horribly scarred former district attorney Harvey Dent, a.k.a. Two-Face, and the Riddler, a disgruntled ex-Wayne Enterprise inventor seeking revenge against his former employer by unleashing his brain-sucking weapon on Gotham City's residents. As the Caped Crusader also deals with tortured memories of his parents' murder, he has a new romance with psychologist Chase Meridian.
Such a stupid name.
Jesus Christ.
Was there a Chase Meridian in the comics?
I don't know.
This famously, Jim Carrey got paid an ungodly sum of money to do this movie because he's hot off the heels of Ace Ventura and The Mask.
Yeah.
And his performance is fine, but he's more doing Jim Carrey than he is doing the Riddler. Mm-hmm. As far as in the hierarchy of this Batman series, I put it... You kind of put them in order, really. Like, the best one is 89, then Batman Returns, then this, then Batman and Robin. But that being said, it's still a Batman movie, which makes it fun.
I think Val Kilmer did a fine job as Batman. He played the straight man to all of the crazy, outlandish stuff that was going on around him. I think his Bruce Wayne was quite nice. He hated this role. He hated the experience of playing Batman. That's in the documentary. He just could not stand the suit. He couldn't stand just all the demands of being in a superhero film. I thought Nicole Kidman's character was the one that should have been bashed the most. That she was clearly cock hungry. And it's like, what the hell? Get a grip, lady.
Just like her character in Baby Girl.
Yeah, totally. And of course, I've talked about Tommy Lee Jones on this show about how Tommy Lee Jones is great at playing Tommy Lee Jones's range. This movie put him outside his range, and he comes off as being very silly.
Well, he and Jim Carrey did not get along on set, and Tommy Lee Jones told Carrey that he hated him. Carrey later surmised that it was because at the time, Carrey's blockbuster Dumb and Dumber was released the same week as Jones' passion project Cobb, financially eviscerating it and moving the film's recognition into obscurity.
Joey, this is like one of your first Batman movie experiences, right?
It is.
Boo.
Yeah. This is probably an unpopular opinion in this room, but I prefer the more colorful, cartoony Batmans, and this one is not one of the better ones of those, I think. So
yeah, my problem with it was this is like Joel Schumacher's interpretation of what a comic book movie should be, or this is what comic book culture is, and I think he missed the mark. It's like, dude, you're doing the Batusi from 1966, and
it is more colorful than the Tim Burton ones, though. I think Schumacher is much more flamboyant as like visually than Tim Burton was.
All right, let's jump on to the one that it's up against. It's a number 4 seed. It's 79%. It came out in 2000, same year as Red Planet. It's Pollock. This talking about passion projects, directed by Ed Harris.
Yes, took him years to develop this.
Starring Ed Harris, Marcia Gay Harden, Jennifer Connelly, Amy Madigan, Val Kilmer, and Bud Cort. In August of 1949, Life magazine ran a banner headline that begged the question, Jackson Pollock, is he the greatest living painter in the United States? The film is a look back at the life of an extraordinary man, a man who has fittingly been called an artist dedicated to concealment, a celebrity who nobody knew. As he struggled with self-doubt, engaging in a lonely tug-of-war between needing to express himself and wanting to shut the world out, Pollock began a downward spiral.
And honestly, I forgot that Val Kilmer was in this. He plays Willem de Kooning.
Yeah.
I am an art person, and Ed Harris is uncanny as Pollock. In fact, the only reason that he did this is because his father gave him a book about Pollock because his father thought he looked so much like his son. That being said, the movie's kind of boring. So for an artist who was so controversial, I mean, if you think of abstract expressionism, he's at the top of the list of people that non-art lovers would point to as, my kid could do that.
Yeah.
You know, and they could have leaned into that more. But as a whole, this movie's not very entertaining.
I agree with everything you just said. I remember being hyped for this movie at the time that it came out, and when I saw it, I was like, huh, all right.
Yeah.
Well,
and we mentioned it took Harris a long time to complete the project, but he also had to be hospitalized. So starring in and directing the movie was so strenuous that Ed Harris that he collapsed on the set and had to be briefly hospitalized. So I guess just like exhaustion or dehydration or something. So Pollock versus
Joey,
Batman Forever.
I was going to let Joey have a little bit of input.
Yeah.
Well, I was just going to say the same things that you guys said. Another biopic. Again, I'm just not crazy about that genre of movie. And then this one, it's not bad, and I guess it's a fitting portrait of Pollock. But as y'all both said, it's just not very entertaining as a movie.
Yeah, I was expecting more. I was expecting, I don't know. It just did not move me. I just came away just feeling just kind of let down by the whole thing.
They should have shot it from the perspective of the canvas.
Yeah, that would have been fun.
It would have been cool.
Getting splattered upon.
At least some scenes, you know?
All right, so Batman Forever versus Pollock.
I'm going Batman Forever.
Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say I thought this was gonna be a huge.
Let me look and see what I wrote down.
I thought this was gonna be a huge.
Oh shit! I wrote down Pollock earlier.
Are you changing your vote?
I'm changing my vote to Pollock.
Well, I'm gonna vote. I was gonna vote Batman Forever, not because it's a better movie, because it's not. But if we had to sit down and watch one of these right now, I would probably never willingly just sit down and watch Pollock again in my life.
And I would watch Batman Forever.
And this is a Val Kilmer tribute episode.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'm going Batman Forever.
Is a Val Kilmer movie. Pollock is not a Val Kilmer. He's in it, but he's certainly. It's a pretty small role, and it's Ed Harris's movie.
Well, Joey, you swayed me. I was on the fence about it because I know that Pollock probably is a better quality movie, but in terms of entertainment factor, even though I don't particularly like the film, and then like you said, it's Val Kilmer's episode, and I've got to give him props.
Good for Pollock, but I don't think it's going very far.
No,
I feel like So you're going with Batman Forever?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I feel like Kilmer, and this was kind of something that happened to him over the course of his career. He was pretty good in this role. He was fine as Batman. He could have been the face of Batman.
Right.
Unfortunately, the movie that they put him in kind of sucked around him.
Yeah.
But if he'd been in a better Batman movie, he may have.
Yeah.
We might be talking a whole different game about Val Kilmer right now.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with another movie later in the
I agree.
in the bracket.
Well, that puts us right at the halfway point, and so it's a good time for us to take a break and go pee in the yard and do that. But not before we say, let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby and get ourselves some ice, man.
Yum, yum. It's time for a tasty and refreshing snack. We promise to satisfy your hunger, your thirst, your sweet tooth. So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go.
And we're back. I'm the only one who peed in the yard. You boys are going to be
I have a bladder of steel.
floating.
I'm good.
Okie dokie. Well, I don't have a beer check-in. Joey, you've been sipping on something.
It's just what is it? It's the high pitch.
Yeah, those are good.
Mosaic IPA.
Nice. Good job. All right, back at it, everybody. Without further ado, we're going to go with number 3, 83%er from 1995. We're talking about Heat.
Yes.
It's directed by Michael Mann. This is a long film, about nearly 3 hours, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think 2:43, something like that.
Starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Val Kilmer, Diane Venora, Ashley Judd, Amy Brenneman, Tom Sizemore, Natalie Portman, and Danny Trejo.
Also John Voight.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And Wes Studi from Last of the Mohicans. And also Henry Rollins, Tone Loc,
that's
Jeremy
right.
Piven, Xander Berkeley. Tons of people show up in this.
Rollins had a good role.
One of the best modern heist movies, in my opinion. I love this film.
All right, here we go. Master criminal Neil McCauley is trying to control the rogue actions of one of his men while also planning one last big heist before retiring. Meanwhile, Lieutenant Hannah, played by Pacino, attempts to track down McCauley as he deals with the chaos in his own life, including the infidelity of his wife and the mental health of his stepdaughter, played by a very young Natalie Portman. McCauley and Hannah discover a mutual respect even as they try to thwart each other's plans. This is one of the rare films where De Niro and Pacino are basically share screen time.
The first time they ever shared screen time. They were, of course, in Godfather Part 2 together, but because of the chronology of that film, the flashbacks, it wouldn't have made sense for them to be on screen at the same time. But they both said that that scene, they were both really looking forward to it.
The dinner scene where they...
The cafe scene.
Yeah.
Yes.
Typical Michael Mann movie, well done action, well done suspense, great dialogue. Val Kilmer, of course, his role, he's one of the higher-ups in the gang. And he and his wife, played by Ashley Judd, are kind of having some issues at home. And
because he's a gambler,
Yeah,
is
he
that
has a
right?
gambling
And he probably
problem.
is in debt to some bad people. He doesn't say a lot. He's kind of an ask no questions guy. He does what he's told. He does it well. But there's something like tragically romantic about him in this movie.
As I said in my my review on Letterboxd, I said the NFL should find out who made Ashley Judd's blonde helmet for this movie.
Oh.
Looks like they could prevent some CTE.
Damn.
That hairdo cracked me up, man.
There is some good banter between her and Hank Azaria's FBI or DEA guy.
Yeah.
One cool thing about this movie is the action sequence, the actual bank robbery sequence. The rest of it's still very intense, but it's like intense with anticipation. This scene is fucking badass. And one of the things that made it so cool was that they didn't dub over the sound of the gunshots being used. Instead, they had microphones close to each place where they were firing those guns, and nobody had ever done a fight scene like that. So it's original in that regard.
I think, Joe, you may have mentioned, or maybe Todd did on the check-in, it does have some slow parts where it kind of slogs along a little bit.
I think this is. I'm going to make a reference that is not obscure for me, but will be obscure for the youngsters in the audience. This is the Use Your Illusions of crime dramas.
Oh, wow.
Obviously the follow-up album to Appetite for Destruction would have been one really fucking amazing album, but it's 2 albums with a lot of filler.
Kind of caught up in itself a little bit.
A little bit up its own ass, yeah. But when it rocks, it rocks.
It hits hard, yeah.
It's one of the best hard rock albums of the past 50 years.
This movie is the exact same way.
Yeah. I think there's some fluff and some filler. It's almost 3 hours long. It doesn't need to be that long. The emotional heft of y'all mentioned the heist scene, but for me, the end scene on the tarmac where they're the 2 actors are chasing on the tarmac, that to me is worth the price of admission. It's a good film. I was a little bit underwhelmed by it based on my expectations going in. I saw it for the first time this week because I thought there was a lot of fluff and a lot of filler, but still a pretty damn good movie. Despite all that, I think.
I thought Val Kilmer was good in it. I liked his professionalism. He was kind of low key. He did not do anything weird or wild with the character.
That scene where his wife is being held in the hotel room and he comes to see her and she sees him from the balcony and she signals.
She does the little
and that's when he knows, and you see his expression change. Yeah. And then he smiles back at her and drives away.
Yep.
Man, that scene gets me every time.
Yeah. All right, let's jump on to the next one. This is number 14 in the bracket. It is a 30%er from 1997. It's a movie adaptation of a British TV series called The Saint,
directed by
Philip Noyce. Starring Val Kilmer, Elizabeth Shue, Raid Serbergerger.
Your guess is as good as mine.
Roger Moore on a voiceover.
Yeah, the very end.
He was the Saint in the TV show. And Valerie Nikolaev. Based on the popular spy series, this film follows suave international thief Simon Templar, who is contracted by Russian oil magnate Ivan Trechak to steal a formula for cold fusion. So Templar, nicknamed the Saint because of his use of Roman Catholic saints as aliases, finds scientist Dr. Emma Russell, played by the lovely Elizabeth Shue, seduces her and steals the information. However, because the formula was incomplete, Trechak now wants to kill Templar and kidnap Russell.
Maybe I missed it, but was there a specific reason that he chose the last name Templar? I know he was at that Catholic boarding school for troubled youth.
I mean,
and
you're 8 years old. You probably think it's a cool name.
And and did the little girl Agnes who dies in the opening scene, like during his origin story, did that ever come back into play?
He mentions it to Elizabeth Shue in a dialogue thing. Yeah,
she was my only friend.
Yeah. She was my only friend back at the hospital.
A master of disguise, he is not.
Joey, you made a really good point about this movie in terms of his career. This is his...
Val, okay, so the guy had redonkulously photographic, big screen, leading man looks, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But at heart, he was a character actor. He gets to do that a lot in this movie.
Yes.
Mostly it's okay. Y'all say no. I think he does what they ask him to do.
I think the disguises are ridiculous.
They're supposed to be, though.
What did you call it?
Shawn said Fletch without the humor.
Yeah.
I think that I think it is.
I think yours is better though. It's his
Nutty Professor.
Nutty Professor.
Yeah, well, yeah, that. But I think that, like, honestly, I don't think that he's bad in this role. It is kind of his Nutty Professor role. But had this been a better movie, I think it could have been the start of a big franchise.
Had Elizabeth Shue gotten naked.
Yeah, it needed that.
Then it could have been like a latter day Indiana Jones type.
I'm just now in the room realizing that Dana Carvey's vehicle, Master of Disguise, is a parody of this.
Yeah, it is. This one, wow. What could have been? It's like I wanted to go back and watch some episodes of the old Roger Moore series just to see how those compared to this.
They're probably pretty tongue-in-cheek.
Yeah, but that just some of those outlandishly ridiculous disguises. It's like, how could you not know that wasn't Val Kilmer?
See, I think it was supposed to be a little more tongue-in-cheek, and it was supposed to be a little more funny. And I think his performances...
Then that's on Philip Noyce, then, because if it is supposed to be tongue-in-cheek, then he certainly didn't play it enough.
Yeah, the feel of the movie is off. somehow,
Yeah.
and it just doesn't. I don't know. This could have been a real Val Kilmer vehicle.
There you go.
But
And
it
Philip-
ended up not being. I think.
Philip Noyce did direct some better movies, I think. He did Clear and Present Danger.
Yep.
Also Patriot Games, The Bone Collector. The poetry written by Simon Templar's long-haired artist character Jim Morrison, Thomas More, was actually written by Val Kilmer.
Oh gosh.
And then you already mentioned the voice of the radio
Renaissance
announcer.
man. Yeah, Tony.
The radio announcer at the end was Sir Roger Moore.
All right, so Heat versus the Saint.
Heat, obviously, yeah.
All right, next up, number 11, 51%er from 96, The Ghost and the Darkness, directed by Stephen Hopkins, starring Val Kilmer, Michael Douglas, Tom Wilkinson, John Connie, Emily Mortimer, and Bernard Hill. Sir Robert Beaumont is behind schedule on a railroad in Africa, enlisting noted engineer John Henry Patterson to right the ship. Beaumont expects results. Everything seems great until the crew discovers newly mutilated corpses of the project's foreman, seemingly killed by a lion. After several more attacks, Patterson calls in famed hunter Charles Remington, who has finally met his match in the bloodthirsty lions.
Notoriously a shoot that was plagued by every obstacle you could encounter. My not so fun fact is that director Stephen Hopkins said about filming, we had snake bites, scorpion bites, tick bite fever, people getting hit by lightning, floods, torrential rains, and lightning storms, hippos chasing people through the water, cars getting swept into the water, and several deaths of crew members, including 2 drownings.
Wow, this was like Agira.
Val Kilmer came to the set under the worst conditions imaginable. He was completely exhausted from doing The Island of Dr. Moreau. He was dealing with the unfavorable publicity from that set. He was going through a divorce, and he barely had time to get his teeth into the role before we started filming, and he's in nearly every scene in the movie.
I watched this movie last year as part of our Cinema Chop Shop movie challenge.
What was the category? Do you remember?
This was a screenplay by William Goldman. I said basically Jaws, but with lions. I laughed out loud at some of the ridiculous depictions of the lion attacks. Goldman's screenplay may have been perfectly fine, but this direction of the film pushes it into schlocky man versus insanely bloodthirsty beast territory. I did not like this movie.
I remember. What year did this movie come out?
96.
I remember
I've got
seeing this
93.
around the time that it came out, probably on VHS, and I really liked it.
96?
I revisited it again this week. I didn't rewatch it because I remembered it actually pretty well, but I think I'd seen it since then too, and I didn't like it nearly as much as I did. And the lion attacks were almost laughable this time around. And there's that great white hunter shit just kind of hits a little bit differently now.
Yeah.
But so it was a little bit disappointing trip down memory lane for me because it's one that I would have sworn that I liked a lot.
Yep. All right, let's go head to head with a 76%er. This is Todd's favorite movie, and unfortunately Todd couldn't be here to gush about it. It's Top Secret from 1984, directed by Jim Abrams, David Zucker, and Jerry Zucker.
Zaz. Collectively known as Zaz.
This is the Airplane and Naked Gun crew. Starring Val Kilmer.
A very young Val Kilmer.
Yes. Lucy Gutteridge, Peter Cushing, Omar Sharif, Jim Carter, Christopher Villiers, Dimitri Andreas, and Michael Guff again.
And you mentioned Peter Cushing. He and Michael Guff, I would say Gow, they are both veterans of Hammer films.
Yes.
This is the first time that Val Kilmer played Elvis because this movie is essentially a parody of the Elvis vehicles of the 1950s and 60s.
Popular and dashing American singer Nick Rivers travels to East Germany. Neek travels to East Germany to perform in a music festival. When he loses his heart to the gorgeous Hilary Flamand, he finds himself caught up in an underground resistance movement. Rivers joins forces with Agent Cedric, played by Omar Sharif, and Flamand to attempt the rescue of her father, Dr. Paul, from the Germans who have captured the scientist in hopes of coercing him into building a new naval mine. So yeah, this is the Zucker and Abrams skewering of spy films and war films, and Todd didn't like it. But
I don't understand
I don't
that.
understand. I like
this movie.
I like
it's
this movie.
wall-to-wall sight gags and ribald humor and juvenile humor and some kind of highbrow concept humor as well.
Yeah.
And it is it the best movie in this bracket? No. In terms of me enjoying my just sitting down and watching the
Yes.
movie, I laughed out loud more watching this movie
Yeah.
a couple of nights ago than I have watching a movie in a long, long time.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
I agree. And this was Val Kilmer's first feature film, first one in his whole filmography.
And he was basically unknown. At this
unknown.
point.
But so what a risk to put this kid on camera in a starring role like that.
And again, the songs are actually sung by
Yes.
Val Kilmer in this.
The scene with Peter Cushing when it's shot in reverse.
Yeah.
All of the dialogue is backmasked and it's
At
all
first,
backwards.
it sounds like they're just doing backmasking to like kind of mock a Swedish accent,
Right.
And then you realize that no,
the whole
everything's
scene is shot
happening
backwards.
in reverse.
I mean, Val Kilmer's throwing books up on the
It's a-
bookshelf.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
brilliant.
And so they did the same thing that they did with Back to the Future with the guitar performance at the end with
Chuck Berry.
yeah, with like basically the Chuck Berry performance. They credit that on the soundtrack to Marty McFly. In this, they credit the songs to Neek Rivers.
Neek Rivers.
Yes.
Also, my favorite scene in the whole movie though is when they're crawling under the fence
boots.
and the boots are in the
Yes.
foreground. That trope,
And then you pan back and see that it's just a pair of boots.
perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I like this movie.
One other fun fact: the prosthetic that Peter Cushing wears in the bookshop scene involved the making of a cast of his face for it to fit into. The same cast was used 30 years later by ILM to build a CGI model for Peter Cushing's face for Rogue
One, yeah. That tracks. Let's get into the voting. Ghost in the Darkness versus Top Secret.
Top Secret.
Top secret,
Top Secret
all
for
the
me.
way.
Yeah, and I'm sure Todd agrees.
Do you think that he would really pick Ghost in the Darkness over Top Secret?
God, I hope not.
He was pretty vocal in his disdain for this movie, which kind of shocked me.
But was it keeping in mind that it was going up against Ghost in the
I
Darkness?
know we never. I don't.
I
we were
think it
just
was just
talking-
in general.
Yeah.
general.
Just
Okay.
in general. All right, next up. This one should be interesting. Number 7. It's a 75% Rotten Tomatoes. 1993 movie about mustaches.
Yes.
It's Tombstone. Directed by
I thought it
George
was about pizza.
I hate this matchup so much.
George Cosmatos and Kevin Yare. Starring Val Kilmer, Kurt Russell, Sam Elliott, Michael Biehn, who I don't like, by
You
the way.
don't like Michael Biehn in general?
No, I like his films. Listen
Oh.
to his podcast. He's not a likable person. Bill Paxton, neither am I. Dana Delaney, Powers Booth, Billy Bob Thornton, and Jason Priestley. Wyatt Earp and his brothers, Morgan and Virgil, have left their gunslinger ways behind them to settle down and start a business in the town of Tombstone, Arizona. While they aren't looking to find trouble, trouble soon finds them when they become targets of the ruthless cowboy gang. Now, together with Wyatt's best friend, Doc Holliday, the brothers pick up their guns once more to restore order to a lawless land.
We talked about this film kind of in a tangential way last week, actually, when we talked about Unforgiven. Mm-hmm. And this is probably the 90s revisionist Western. This is it.
Yes.
I hate this matchup because of the film that it's
yeah,
patched up against.
This is everybody's dad's favorite movie.
Your dad must be a lot younger than my dad.
Well, it's my dad's favorite movie, and so it did have one of those things we've talked about before, where it came out at the same time as another movie of the exact same subject.
Young Guns.
Young Guns.
No, Wyatt Earp.
Oh, Wyatt Earp, yeah.
Yes.
Well, Young Guns too, around the same era.
But Young Guns doesn't have anything to do with the subject of Tombstone.
No, it's...
I'm just
Really
saying
the
that
kid
this
versus
ilk
the-
of Western, the sort of
Okay.
90s revisionist Western sort of.
But yes, Wyatt Earp...
Wow, I don't even put Young Guns
Yeah.
in the same category. That's interesting. It's one of the last appearances of Charlton Heston
Yes.
in a movie. Also, there's a big controversy, a big debate about one of the most famous lines in this film.
Yes.
Val Kilmer, of course, plays Doc Holliday in an amazing performance. If Jim Morrison is his most iconic, this is a close second.
I agree. Yeah.
And he says to Michael Bihn's character Ringo, "What, Shawn?"
It's debated.
It sounds in
everyone-
the movie like "I'll be your Huckleberry."
I'm your
Wait,
Huckleberry.
That's what he says, right?
Well, there's argument that the actual word that they would have used is hucklebearer, which is one of the person like a pallbearer who's carrying a coffin.
The handles on the coffins were called huckles.
Yes, and so Val Kilmer did address this in 2020. It says he put an end to the long-standing hucklebearer debate. He claims that the line was actually written as "I'm your huckleberry" in the script, meaning I'm your man or you've met your match. So much that he titled his autobiography "I'll Be Your Huckleberry." I would like to think that it's misheard or a misuse by the writers.
Who knows? Val Kilmer was great in this movie. The dialogue in this movie is great. I know they took a lot of liberties with what actually happened in this story and where
As
it
you
happened.
should
But
when you're writing historical
because
fiction.
This plays out like a fun, great Western, and Val Kilmer is knocking on death's door from start to finish, and he is a delight in this
But he
movie.
also accepts his lot in life and is willing to do anything for his friend Wyatt Earp because he doesn't have a lot of friends, and also his love of his prostitute wife, who's with him to the end.
And also you get to see a fat Billy Bob Thornton get slapped around a lot.
Yes, yeah.
Bitch slapped by Kurt Russell.
Ike Clanton. The character Ike Clanton plays a big role, especially when things start to go south. And he was played by Stephen Lang in a really, really good performance. Also, Thomas Hayden Church shows up.
Yes.
Dana Delaney is the love interest. And we also have a later performance from Jason Priestley.
Yeah, I mentioned him in there, yeah. All right, that's going to go up against the number 10 seed, a 52%er from 1988.
Low. That's low for this movie.
Willow!
Directed by Ron
Directed
Howard.
by Ron Howard, produced by George Lucas.
And written by George Lucas, too.
And starring Warwick Davis, Val Kilmer, Joanne Whalley, who would later become the wife of Val Kilmer.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they fell in love on set.
Is it Wally or Whaley?
Whaley, probably.
Okay.
Julie Peters, Gene Marsh, Kevin Pollak, Billy Barty, Patricia Hayes, and Maria Holdo. A young dwarf farmer is chosen to undertake a perilous journey in order to protect a special baby from an evil queen. Along the way, he teams up with a disgraced swordsman to defeat the evil sorceress.
Have you ever been to a dwarf farm? Those are some special babies.
I bet.
I love this movie. I was exactly the
too.
right age for this when it came out. And it definitely has George Lucas's fingerprints on it. I'm sure that Ron Howard got to do this movie because of his relationship with George Lucas, having been in American Graffiti. Warwick Davis was guess how old do you think he was at the time? How old was Warwick when he paid?
30.
76.
He was 17.
I know.
He was 17, and
Really?
he says that at the time it was the largest ever casting call for little people for this film because they actually used little people to play the dwarves, unlike a recent Disney movie.
Punk ass bitches.
Yeah.
I'm going to be the dissenter. I don't like this movie.
Okay.
I don't like it because I have seen the production sketches envisioned by the comic book artist Mobius.
Oh, okay.
I know what this movie could have been.
Does he like to strip?
No, he does not. That's cute, though. His designs for Mad Mortigan, especially Val Kilmer's character, had an Asian slant to them.
Val Kilmer could
no
do
pun
that.
no pun intended. So much so that he had the little triangle hat like pulled back over his shoulders the whole time, and the design of
He
this,
did worse than the Saint.
the design of this movie, the design of this movie became so Anglo-Saxonized that I immediately was against this film when it hit because I was like I saw what it's supposed to be. I cannot stand Warwick Davis in this movie. His voice is like a cheese grater on my brain.
Sean,
I'm sorry.
we're gonna fight after
I'm
the
sorry.
podcast.
We can do it.
Nobody
We can do
puts
it.
Willow in a corner.
I am not a fan of this film, although I do think that Joanne Whaley is very cute.
As much as I like Willow, I don't think it holds a candle to the quality of film that Tombstone is.
Agreed.
I'm gonna vote Willow just because I know that Sean is not, and I want it to get one vote.
I like Willow, don't get me wrong, but Tombstone is
I like
a
this
much
movie.
better-
I think I have a kind of a soft spot for this movie. I didn't see it at the time that it came out. I actually watched it for the first time about 3 years ago,
Oh,
and I've
wow.
watched it twice since. And it's
Yeah.
kind of a comfort food movie for me. I like
Yeah.
it, I do. So I'm going to vote for it. Although I do concede that Tombstone probably should win, but I know that Sean's going to push it through. So I wanted to get one vote.
It's fine. All right, next up, this one. Number 15. 23% Rotten Tomatoes. Probably the story behind the movie is more interesting than the movie itself. 1996 is The Island of Dr. Moreau. Directed by Richard Stanley and then finished by John Frankenheimer.
Yeah, so Richard Stanley developed the project for like 4 years and then got fired 4 days into shooting. And then supposedly convinced the makeup department
He came back and
to put him in makeup as like one of the hybrid animal things so that he could like stick around.
He essentially
play pranks.
he essentially is like the guy that gets like kicked out of college or high school and continues to come back and like walk the halls. That's him. This is starring Marlon Brando, infamously, Val Kilmer, David Thewlis, Nelson De La Rosa, Ron Perlman, and Fairuza Balk. I think she's the highlight of this movie.
Not to be confused with what's her name from Batman Forever, Fairuza Balk and
Debbie Mazar.
and Debbie
Or
Mazar.
Veruca Salt from
Yes.
Willy Wonka. Yeah.
Yes.
An English UN
that
negotiator
band.
is stranded in the tropics with a mad scientist who makes half-human beasts.
So I have a funny story about this movie.
Yeah?
Maybe about 10 or 12 years ago, I was teaching a Victorian lit class, and we read the Island of Dr. Moreau, and I had planned to show the film in class, and I was going to show the earlier version of it. And when I got to school, I realized that, like, for whatever reason, some technical difficulty, I couldn't stream, or I didn't have access to the other one, so I had to show this one kind of at the last minute
Oh,
for the
wow.
first time that I'd ever seen it. And as we were watching it, I was like, "Oh my god, this movie fucking sucks so bad."
It's awful. The film was plagued by just every conceivable problem, starting with the directorial shift, Marlon Brando's uncooperative nature, Val Kilmer doing his best impression of Marlon Brando.
Yes.
Apparently, the Brando refused to learn the line, so he fed them through an earpiece.
Yes.
And
Yeah, and so the two of them are both notorious for being difficult.
Yes.
Are they? I know Val Kilmer. You can call him a method actor. Was Brando method as well?
No, he's just crazy.
and by this time, kind of borderline senile and barely alive.
Yeah. It's a spectacle and it's a bit of a joke. So check out the documentary on this movie. It's probably more entertaining than the movie itself.
I'm trying to remember the name of the docu. It's got a long name, and it's a phrase that basically means up shit creek without a paddle.
Right. All right.
The
So
visual design on the creatures too is not good.
not good. It's very, very mid-90s. Lastly, the final one in this whole kit and caboodle, number 2 seed from 2005. It's an 86%er. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang, the directorial debut of one Shane Black, starring Robert Downey Jr., Val Kilmer, Michelle Monaghan, and Corbin Burnson. Two-bit crook Harry Lockhart stumbles into an audition for a mystery film while on the run from the cops. Winning the part, he lands in Hollywood, where he's flung into a tangled, murderous conspiracy with his childhood sweetheart, Harmony Lane, and hard-boiled private eye Perry Van Shrike, also known as Gay Perry. The deadpan, affectionate parody of film noir tropes is named for film critic Pauline Kael's influential 1968 collection of film reviews and essays.
This is a solid movie.
This is a solid movie.
I saw it for the very first time last night.
Okay.
Okay.
What did you think?
I love this movie.
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it like a couple of weeks ago for the first time. I had it on my movie challenge list last year and I swapped it out.
I think it's underappreciated by the general public.
100%. From the word go, the Saul Bass style credits had me hooked. I was like, okay, I'm on board. Let's see what happens.
Also, a Christmas adjacent movie.
Yeah. That was a good point. We should have included it in our Christmas adjacent films. It's also Robert Downey Jr.'s comeback vehicle. He had been off the fucking rocker for quite some time. As a show of support for Robert Downey Jr.'s recovery from alcohol and drugs, Val Kilmer refused to drink during the entire production. And as a thank you for putting him back into the A-list with this film, Robert Downey Jr. pushed for Shane Black, the director, to be involved in the Marvel franchise, and he ultimately wrote and directed Iron Man 3.
What a tangled web we weave.
Right. Michelle Monaghan is adorable.
Yeah,
in this.
and listeners would know her from season 3 of White Lotus, as well as season 1, the best season of True Detective.
Yeah. I thought that Val Kilmer's character, even though a little riding the line of being typical 2005, we're not cool with gay people quite yet.
Is his nickname a play on Gay Paris?
Maybe.
I guess, yeah. I get that criticism of it.
But I like how he played the part, though. It was like, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't think that it was egregious, and I think that
we've seen worse.
A lot of gay folks around that time period would have been similarly self-deprecating.
Yeah.
So it didn't really bother me. I mean, I know I'm not the guy. I don't get to make that call,
Right.
but like to me, it wasn't like egregious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seemed very fitting, very of the time, I guess.
I like it as it says in the synopsis, kind of a parody of film noir and neo noir. It's in my wheelhouse. I mean, I really like the story. I liked some of the elements. I thought it was fun, and I dig this film.
Same here. Like I said, I watched it the first time last night, and it was instant, sort of an instant classic for me. I'm gonna try to put this into the Christmas rotation because I'll be honest with you, I'm a little bit burned out on my family's Christmas rotation.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I can watch Home Alone again. Nothing against Home Alone, but 12 years in a row, man, I don't know if I can do it again.
Watch Tangerine.
Oh, yeah, or
This might
The
be an easier
Equalizer.
sell.
I mean, Tangerine has an Academy Award-winning director now. That's all you got to say. This is an Academy Award-winning director, folks.
Wife and Child.
All right, so we're now going to kick it into high gear. We're going into the
Final Four?
no, the Elite Eight.
The Elite Eight.
But this happens very, very quickly.
Yes.
All right, going back to the top of the bracket, we have True Romance versus The Doors.
This is tough. I'm really on the fence here, but I think that because of that, I should go with what I wrote down in advance, and I've got The Doors.
Okay. I'll make it easy for you, Joey.
Okay.
Granted that Val Kilmer's part in True Romance is the Jiminy Cricket conscience guiding light kind of thing, it's still a small part. The Doors is
Val
a
Kilmer's
quintessential
movie.
Val Kilmer
That's
movie.
exactly what I was going to say. I don't love True Romance, but it is a good movie. I don't have a huge problem with it, but it's not really a Val Kilmer movie.
I like True Romance better than The Doors, but I'm going to say The Doors.
The Doors as a Val Kilmer movie, definitely, yeah.
All right, next up, Real Genius versus Batman Forever.
This one's real easy for me.
Easy for me.
It's Real Genius.
Yes.
This is one of my wife's favorite movies. I did not see this at the time when it came out in the 80s. But a few years ago, we ended up watching some 80s movies, like with my kid. He's 12 now. He would have been around 9 or 10 at the time. And she really wanted to show him some of her favorite movies from the 80s, and she chose Adventures in Babysitting, age appropriate stuff. And then this one was another one, and so he loved this movie too. And it was actually the first time I'd ever seen it, and I liked it a lot. I'm voting Real Genius.
Yes.
All right, now we get into some nitty gritty. We've got Heat versus Top Secret.
I'm going Heat. I like Top Secret a lot, but I think that Heat is an amazing fucking movie.
Joey's
By the logic you guys just
Joey
used,
looks like he's about to have a heart attack over here.
with True Romance, though, Heat is less of a Val Kilmer movie than Top Secret is.
Yeah.
Top Secret is a Val Kilmer vehicle. Heat, he's part of an ensemble.
I made my feelings about Heat clear earlier. It's a great movie, but there's a lot of filler in it. And y'all, can I commit sacrilege? Are we allowed to
Yes.
blaspheme?
Yes.
Al Pacino is one of the most overrated actors of his generation because
I think he was
all
good
he
when
does
he was
is
young.
yells.
This is the movie where he says the biggest.
Yeah. And Top Secret is a Val Kilmer vehicle. He is the star of the
Yes.
film. And as if your first role, you don't really think of Kilmer as a comic actor or a Hatton, but he's fucking
He's really
good
funny
in this movie.
Yeah. He's a lot funnier in this than he is in The Saint.
I'm gonna commit. I'm so glad Todd's not here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna vote Top Secret. Here.
I'm going to vote Top Secret just to
Right
piss
on.
Todd off. Okay?
My bracket's busted, you guys.
I'm only doing it because of Todd.
When he finds out that Top Secret took down Heat in the
Yes.
second round, he is going to go.
Yeah.
He's going to be apoplectic.
Yeah, I'm just doing it to piss him off. All right, Tombstone versus Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. Now that hurts.
That's tough.
Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. I just saw it last night. Maybe it's recency bias, but I love this movie. I
Okay.
like it a lot. I'm voting it. This one's easy for me, actually.
I'm going Tombstone because, like I said earlier, this is, if not his most well-known role, his second most.
I'm
Tombstone.
gonna say Tombstone only for Val Kilmer's performance.
It's so good.
It is the thing that I like most about the movie.
And I'm sorry if it's too soon to say this, the sickly nature of the character, the performance is kind of foreshadowing of his later years.
All right.
I got some hard decisions coming up here because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was my champion in my provisional bracket.
Okay.
I still love that movie. I'll watch that movie again. All right. Coming up onto the final four. The Doors versus Real Genius. This one's easy for me.
Okay, so you don't have the a lot of these movies, like we said earlier, he could have been a leading man, but he was a character actor at heart. And a lot of his better movies are the ones where he is a supporting actor doing kind of a character kind of role. This is one where he's the star of both of these movies. Come back to me.
As much as I like Real Genius, as fun as it is, I gotta go with The Doors. I liked this movie even if we weren't just talking about Val Kilmer, but his performance is, and I've cited it before as one of the greatest portrayals in a biopic for face value and for just kind of affecting the persona.
I agree with everything that Travis just said, but it's hard for me because The Doors are easily my least favorite of the classic rock canon.
I'm going Real Genius because it's all the things I said before. It's a funny movie. It's a snappy movie. It's tight. It's clever. I will watch it again and again. And it's a female director. It's the only one on this entire bracket. I don't know. I like Real Genius.
Then Real Genius it is.
Okay,
Wow.
then. Well, Joey doesn't like biopics.
Well, I don't like biopics. Like I said, the Doors. Jim Morrison to me was just
He's an asshole.
Drug-addled, overblown lyricist, and I don't really care for the Doors. I don't really care for biopics. It is a great performance of Jim Morrison by him, but Real Genius is I'm not saying it's a better film, but it's certainly a more entertaining, fun film for me.
Plus, you get to see Val Kilmer's charisma in that movie. All right, Top Secret versus Tombstone.
Well, if I voted for Tombstone to go in the last one, I should have to take it for this one, right? Not necessarily.
It's up to you.
I'm going Tombstone.
Yeah, this is no contest for me.
I would have been more conflicted about Tombstone versus Heat than I am about this. I'm going Tombstone over Top Secret.
I'm more conflicted because Kiss Kiss Bang Bang was my champion, and I do like Top Secret. I laughed out loud many, many times watching it. I love the movie. I'll probably watch it again. But as far as Val Kilmer performances go, Tombstone, yeah, I'm going Tombstone.
All right. So we have a number 7 seed versus a number 5 seed.
Well, I found it kind of shocking. I mean, if you had just asked me, sight unseen, hey, we're doing a Val Kilmer bracket. What do you think will be the number 1 rated, the seeded movie? I would have assumed it was Tombstone, probably.
I think you're right. Again, this is purely arbitrary.
It's the one
seeding.
that I think of. Yeah, that's
Okay, Travis.
I've got Tombstone because I've got Tombstone going all the way. So I'm gonna stick with it. Tombstone is, in my opinion, better than Real Genius.
I'll say Real Genius, and then I'll make Joey pick.
Okay.
Do you mean get Allie out here?
Again, the Val Kilmer performance in Tombstone is definitely his most iconic performance. It's way more iconic a performance by him than in Real Genius. However, Real Genius, as Shawn said earlier, could have just been another run-of-the-mill 80s comedy, and it elevates itself a little beyond that for all the reasons that Shawn mentioned earlier. I'm going to vote for Real Genius.
Wow. Whoa. That is amazing.
All right. Well, then, Real Genius is the greatest Val Kilmer movie ever made.
Also, I get to go home and tell my wife that her favorite movie won the bracket.
Yeah.
That's a good husband for you. Oh, wow. Okay, that's it. Thank you for joining us. I hope you agree or don't.
You don't have to agree.
Tell us on social media what you think. Send us all the hate mail.
I feel like Todd's going to send us hate mail.
And Todd doesn't listen to any of this shit. That's it. I don't know what our next episode is going to be. Travis, you've got some travel coming up in a couple of weeks. I think we might do one of our erudite, highbrow Criterion type episodes. So might be John Cassavetes or something. I don't know.
Do something based on one of the categories that we have to watch for the.
Yeah. Whoa. Are you saying that you're gonna wait until I'm out of town to do a highbrow episode? What the fuck are you trying to say?
I was waiting on you to pick up on that.
Messed up, dude.
To our listeners at home, Travis did contribute a category based on titties for to the movie challenge.
Yeah.
Nudity in general, man. It could be any sort of nudity. So for the listeners, the documentary that we were referring to earlier is called Lost Soul, The Doomed Journey of Richard Stanley's Island of Dr. Moreau.
Jesus Christ. Because of this movie, that documentary, I watched the film that he directed that was kind of like a post-punk industrial kind of weird movie, and I liked it. I thought it was really clever, but anyway, post-apocalyptic crap. I don't know what our next episode is going to be. We'll figure it out. In the meantime, check us out on social media. You can @ us on Cinema Chop Shop, on everything. YouTube, we're Cinema Chop Shop Podcast, and on Blue Sky. In the meantime, please love your neighbor, love yourself, love your family. Tell people you love them. Do nice things for total strangers and freak them out. And remember to watch, shop, retrofit.
And be someone's Huckleberry.
There you go.